मोदी जी नरों के ही नेता नहीं, नरों के ही राजा नहीं, सुरों के, देवताओं के भी राजा, इस तरीके की भाषा बनती है, ये हमको समझ।
Oh my God. So, I mean, of course, more loyal than the king. Now that the king has said that I'm not biological, these people are like, of course, you two are like god of gods. You're above gods only.
There is a kind of competitive cultism that's going on in this party. So if I say something about Modi aisa hai, Modi waisa hai, then the next person wants to say something even more dramatic. I mean, मुझे और भी थोड़ा बड़ा चढ़ा के बोलनी है. तो कंगना रनौत से आपको मालूम नहीं है, ये आदमी बस 3 घंटे सोते हैं और एक ही बार खाना खाता है. तो 4 घंटा has now become 3 घंटा.
Yes.
सिर्फ स्कूल तक पढ़े, मतलब प्राइमरी स्कूल तक, हाई स्कूल तक. बाद में हमारे संघ के अधिकारी थे, उनके बड़े आग्रह पर मैं एक्सटर्नल एग्जाम देना शुरू किया. तो दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी से मैंने बीए कर लिया एक्सटर्नल एग्जाम दे करके. फिर भी उनका आग्रह रहा तो मैंने एमए कर लिया एक्सटर्नल एग्जाम से. मैंने कभी कॉलेज का दरवाजा देखा नहीं. तो
See, this is very interesting, I found, which is his educational qualifications, which everybody talks about. I think this is one interview where he admits that he has never gone to college.
Arun Jaitley passed away. One of the first reactions that I saw on Twitter was Navika Kumar's impassioned post saying,
I called him every morning.
Yeah, I call him every. Who am I going to? When I wake up, who am I going to call? And I was like, a freaking journalist.
Yeah, what is happening?
Yeah, and the best part of that clip is once the guy is in the perfect position for Modi to, walk past the camera, note the difference between the way he walks before this interaction and how he does a slow-mo walk afterwards.
Yeah.
There is this, that measured, stately. It's great fun. I mean, if it wasn't so, let's say, if it wasn't a bloody train wreck in so many ways.
It's a very entertaining thing to analyze, to look at.
Even if you take the lower end thing, this Bhiksha is the period when he was also presumably Bhiksha leke he reached Pennsylvania Avenue and took a picture outside the White House. He was in front of the Eiffel Tower. So the timeline has always puzzled me a little bit. This guy is using examples that are so batshit. I mean, 2 banks है तो 1 बैंक चुरा के लेके जाएगा, ठीक है भाई, लेकिन रखेगा कहाँ?
That's true. That's very true.
ये टैप्स जो चोरी करके मैं लेके गया और करूं क्या मैं? So there's a song in Tamil. The line is தாடிகள் எல்லாம் டாகோரா, மீசைகள் எல்லாம் பாரதியா. Translated means not everybody with a beard is a Tagore and not everybody with a mush is a Subramanya Bharati.
Hello nerd friends, welcome to another MEGHNERD Reacts. This episode is special, friends, because there is a lot of engineering that went on behind it. Some of my fellow nerds have helped me pull out some very amazing TV appearances by Shri Sir Adarniya Supreme Leader, Maximum Authority, Minimum Responsibility, Adarniya Shri Sir Narendra Modi ji. But this was before he became Shri Sir yada yada yada. So we are going to just have like 5 clips which we have pulled out from 1995 onwards till date, and we are going to see if Narendra Modi has aged well. So to answer that question, I have a very special reactionary this time. Say hello to Prem Panicker. Hello.
Hey.
Prem, to people who don't know, who are you? What do you do?
Well, even people who know me ask that question. So I've been a journalist for about 33 odd years. Last full-time was sometime around, I quit Yahoo in 2014, after which I've been freelancing, doing all sorts of stuff. Currently, I write, I edit. I'm consulting editor for India Spend. I work with an outfit called Confluence Media, which is run by Josie Joseph. So that's pretty much it, yeah.
So what are your interest areas, if I may ask? Because I see you very active on Twitter and you are giving insights on the political situation, etc. What are your interest areas in general?
Well, books, I guess, would be the one enduring interest area. It's been there since I was a kid. In terms of what's going on around us, pretty much everything. I mean, I've always been a generalist, though I keep getting typecast as a cricket reporter. My cricket reporting was basically 96 to about 2001, and then a brief return in 2003 around the World Cup time. But that was it. That's just a small fraction of my working life. The rest of the time, it's been politics, current affairs, investigative journalism, not the editing of the, let's say, the Shekhar Guptas of this world, editing in terms of actually sitting with reporters, working on their copy, that sort of thing, which basically is an interest area, actually.
Yeah. So my first thing that I wanted to start with, because we are going to look at Modi ji through the ages, is your first exposure to Narendra Modi as a person, right? So you said you started your career in the 90s as a journalist.
Yeah, 1989.
So
yeah.
what was the first time you encountered the name? When was the first time you encountered the name Narendra Modi, and what did you think about him back then?
On the sidelines of the Rath Yatra,
Right.
91.
91.
Yeah, where he was an organizer. He was pretty much visible in the chariot that Advani rode. What set him apart was that he seemed to be the one pulling the strings, the organizational strings. I'm not talking about Advani's strings. I mean, you would see him passing on instructions, being fairly vocal about things and all of that. So it was like, yeah, okay, he's an apparatchik. Chances are that he is RSS because this whole thing was driven by the RSS slash VHP at that time. So it's not like he left a lasting impression at that point. He was there. He was in a fairly key role, but he wasn't fronting anything, if you know what I mean. So
Right. So what was your impression though? Like, I mean, he was just a side character back then.
he was, yeah, I would say he would be a second hero.
Second hero.
In Bollywood terms, the guy who helps the hero sort of,
Yeah.
hog the limelight and get rid of the villains and all
Yeah.
of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would probably be the analogy that best fits.
And then since then, like I think a lot of things have happened in his life. Did he come to your notice sometime later? I'm guessing the 2000s.
Well, if you remember the churn in Gujarat, the Shankar Singh Waghela period and all of that, that is when he started coming to notice, because while the reportage of that time, including for the organization that I worked with, readers, all the reportage was centered around what was happening in Gujarat, the clash between the two major leaders, all of that. His name kept coming up. His name kept coming up partly as he would be sent to make peace, or he would be sent to handle things, or whatever. So increasingly, it was like, okay, this guy who was an organization person, or who was a let's say, the person who kept the Rath on the rails, suddenly started playing a role in Gujarat politics. And there was this, I'm probably speaking a little bit in retrospect, but there was the sense of, okay, this guy is increasingly coming up through the ranks. It didn't occur to me or to anyone I know or worked with at the time that he would end up being shoehorned into the chief minister's chair. But he did seem to be increasingly becoming a power player in Gujarat politics.
Right.
So he was somebody you had to keep an eye on. One of the things that we do as journalists is open files on either events or people that matter, right?
Yeah.
So it would be around the early 2000s, I think, that we actually started thinking in terms of, okay, this guy deserves a file of his own.
Right.
Clippings need to go into that because something is going on here. Again, like I said, I don't recall anyone coming up with the possibility of him becoming the chief minister.
Yeah.
But that he was increasingly influential in politics in a state where politics matters, not just to the state but also to the rest of the country, was becoming apparent.
This is very interesting, and I ask you this because I was also thinking about this, right? When did Narendra Modi came on my radar, right? I'm much younger than you are. So I first came to Delhi and I was 21 years old in 20 2011, and then I think somewhere around 2013 September, which I think was when his quote-unquote crowning was happening, which is like the BJP declare him as a prime minister candidate. A little bit before that is when chatter started that there is this Narendra Modi who is going to, be a candidate for the BJP, etc. And honestly, like till that point, I just knew him as, Chief Minister of Gujarat. I knew him as someone who oversaw a 2002 massacre, oversaw being a lightly used term right now at this point of time. I knew that his sidekick was Amit Shah because all the stories of the encounters, etc. I had vaguely read about it. I can admit that I was not very interested in the whole thing. But the moment he became the prime minister is when my real focus went on Narendra Modi, right? And also because I was working in parliament, so proximity. Since then, I have learnt a lot about this man, and I think everybody has been forced to learn a lot about this man as a result. It's very interesting how we are looking at it. So you are a person who has seen him in the 90s and beginning 2000s. I'm a person who has seen him in the 2013s and 14s. And most of my audience was born, their political acumen started developing in the Modi era, right? So there are a lot of new voters, etc., who don't know who this man is, honestly. So my attempt today with you is going to sort of take you through the ages, like through these clips.
And by the way, I do realize just how young you are because you said Modi came to your notice in 2013.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, wow, okay.
Exactly. Like for me, and I'm a 34-year-old right now, but even then I was like not really focused on this person. Like you said, you opened a file. Reporters opened a file in 2000.
Yeah.
I had completely missed like a good 13, 12 years of information by that point of time. I feel like a lot of people must have missed even longer, like 20 years of information.
Right.
So that is where I'm coming from. I thought it would be good to like just lay that out there before we begin. Okay. So this is the first one, the clip that I want to show you. And this is from the 90s. I'm guessing it is from 95, 96 or 97. I don't know the exact date. Okay.
आरएसएस के प्रचारक आमतौर पर काफी सादगी से रहते हैं। नरेंद्र मोदी भी इसके अपवाद नहीं है, लेकिन पहनने ओढ़ने के मामले में उनकी आदत दूसरे प्रचारकों से अलग है। वे सलीके के कपड़े पहनना पसंद करते हैं, लैपटॉप पे काम करते हैं और इन सब को छुपाने में भी कोई यकीन नहीं रखते। तो आइए अब एक नजर नरेंद्र मोदी की लाइफ।
नरेंद्र मोदी राष्ट्रीय स्वयंसेवक संघ के प्रचारक हैं, लेकिन अपनी निजी जिंदगी में वे कई मामलों में संघ के दूसरे प्रचारकों से अलग दिखते हैं। हालांकि नरेंद्र मोदी की लाइफस्टाइल में तड़क भड़क जैसी कोई बात नहीं है। दिल्ली में अपने एक सांसद मित्र के घर के एक कमरे में उनकी रिहाइश है। अपना सारा काम भी वे खुद ही करते हैं, लेकिन हाँ, उन्हें सलीके से रहना पसंद है और वे ऐसा करते भी हैं। अच्छा पहनना और चुस्त दुरुस्त दिखना नरेंद्र मोदी की खास पहचान है। फिर उन्हें घुड़सवारी का शौक है, इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी और कंप्यूटर में उनकी गहरी दिलचस्पी है।
Very interesting about this, the intro especially. The thing is, I was very surprised to see this because these qualities of him being interested in information technology, etc., are still sort of quoted as like a virtue. So this started a long time ago.
It did, yes. And he has been building on that myth, among other things. I remember there's an interview where he talks about how he had this device. The way he described it, it was a Palm Pilot.
Yeah.
So he had this device and he used to enter his contacts and everything else in that. And then he goes to the US and he goes into a technology shop. He says that he was always interested in tech. It's a repetitive theme of his.
Yeah.
And he says he asked for the latest version of that. By the way, you have to remember that all this is when he is a poor man's son, he's a chaiwala's son and all of that, right?
Yes.
He goes and asks for the latest version and the shopkeeper says, what latest version are you talking about? I haven't even seen the version that you have. I didn't realize, though I lived through those times, that India was that developed. This would be, since you said 94, 95, this would be before the internet actually launched in India. In fact, the internet was commercially made commercially available sometime around mid 1995, July, August.
Yes.
None of these things really existed, but he did use this to take photographs on a digital camera, which hadn't appeared in the public domain at that time. He sent an email to L.K. Advani when email hadn't arrived. All of those things. He's been a visionary. He's been way ahead of his times.
Correct. And
So
I think I know what you mentioned, because there were these two very strange blog posts that I had read. So the narrative there, again, a third person narrative, was that he was looking for a Nokia communicator, right?
Right.
And I was looking at the Nokia communicator, I think it was version 2 was when he was there. And I was looking at the price of Nokia
Yeah.
communicator in dollars and then converted into the value. And in
Yeah.
current price terms, it would come to somewhere around 1.3 lakh, the device itself. Like, so even a
Yeah.
little bit more than the iPhone. And I was like, this man had like a Nokia communicator in the 96, 97, and that is such an expensive device. No normal person would have it. How?
Yeah, so one of the funny things about the Nokia communicator, it was like a brick, right? I don't know if
Yeah.
you've seen that damn thing. It was huge. So that was when I was working in Rediff, and obviously, I mean, none of us were in a position to buy Nokia communicators and stuff. I remember I was being sent someplace for to report, and at that point, the thing was, you normally carried a typewriter or whatever, one of those things. And this whole Nokia communicator thing had come up. So somebody from the tech team in Rediff came and said, there is this gadget. We bought about 3 of them. One was for Mr. Balakrishnan. The other 2 had not been assigned. He said, do you want to take this on your trip? And, you can just type out on this. And initially I was like, okay, wow, something that fits in my pocket. And then I realized that they don't make pockets that size. So so I mean, either it looks like you have some serious problem, or the pocket is in danger of tearing if you're wearing linens or whatever, which I was. So I had to carry it around in my hand, and I mean, that is the last time I used it. I handed
Yeah.
it back and said, okay, this is not working for me. I'd rather go to a cyber cafe, which is what we used to do in those days. When you
Yeah.
wanted to write, you went to a cyber cafe, used the machines and sent off stories. I said that's easier than using a communicator. So, like I said, he's far ahead of his times. His life, even before the period that you're talking about, is incredibly interesting, because I mean, look at the history, right? The narrative is that he was this son of a chaiwala. Okay, he was serving tea in a station that may or may not have existed at that time. That's fine. Then he leaves home shortly after his marriage, and he goes off. He goes to the Ganges, he finds some guru, he learns from him, then he goes off into the Himalayas. He said variously that for 35 years, मैं भिक्षा लेके जी रहा था. He said 40 years also. Even if you take the lower end thing, this Bhiksha is the period when he was also presumably Bhiksha le leke. He reached Pennsylvania Avenue and took a picture outside the White House. He reached Universal Studio, which is very famous for
Yes.
mendicants and bhikshus and all that. He was in front of the Eiffel Tower. So the timeline has always puzzled me a little bit, but it is what it is. I mean, you can't gainsay, a myth.
Yeah. You know, the interesting thing though is that this clip I found, and this is where his legends actually started, like with interviews like these, right? I realized that it started a long time ago. These, like, he's great with technology. Like, the way they are shooting it also is very interesting.
Even as chief minister, there was, I think, an interview where he said, I don't actually read files. I have this, what you call photogenic memory, where he just looks at the page and it registers.
Yes.
I've always wanted one of those, never managed, but yeah.
सर में उनकी गहरी दिलचस्पी है. वे ट्रैकिंग करते हैं और हिंदी गुजराती में कविताएं भी लिखते हैं.
ट्रैकिंग करते हैं
अच्छा,
and
मोदी जी
कविता
कहा जाता है
लिखते
कि
हैं.
अब बड़ा कंप्यूटर सेवी हैं, आपको कंप्यूटर पे काम करना, इंटरनेट पे काम करना, अपनी वेबसाइट बनाना, इन सबका बड़ा शौक है. और बीजेपी में बहुत कम लोग हैं जो इस तरह से टेक्नोलॉजी से प्रेम करते हैं, जो थोड़ा सा टेक्नोलॉजी में ज्यादा दखल रखते हैं. उस तरह की आपके शौक हैं. पहली बात तो मैं कोई पढ़ा लिखा व्यक्ति नहीं हूं, लेकिन परमात्मा की कृपा है और उसके कारण शायद मुझे नई नई चीजें जानना सीखने का बड़ा शौक रहा है. कितना पढ़े हैं आप? वैसे तो मैंने 17 साल की आयु में घर छोड़ दिया. स्कूली शिक्षा के बाद मैं निकल गया. तब से लेकर आज तक मैं भटक रहा हूँ नई चीजें पाने के लिए. सिर्फ स्कूल तक पढ़े, मतलब प्राइमरी स्कूल तक, हाई स्कूल. बाद में हमारे संघ के एक अधिकारी थे, उनके बड़े आग्रह पर मैं एक्सटर्नल एग्जाम देना शुरू किया. तो दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी से मैंने BA कर लिया एक्सटर्नल एग्जाम दे करके. फिर भी उनका आग्रह रहा तो मैंने एमए कर लिया एक्सटर्नल एग्जाम से। मैंने कभी कॉलेज का दरवाजा देखा नहीं। तो
See, this is very interesting, I found, which is his educational qualifications, which everybody talks about. I think this is one interview where he admits that he has never gone to college.
Gone to college, yeah, which explains why nobody has ever stepped forward. I think I made that point on Twitter once that if I had studied with somebody who went on to become the PM, I'd be yelling from the rooftops about it.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever come forward and said I've studied with him. But yeah, he says he did all of this through this thing. What is more interesting about this is the Paramatma motive already starts to come in.
Right.
You know, the divinely ordained thing is been there from 95. Also about technology, one of the things worth noting is Rediff in early 96, shortly after we launched, we started doing the series of online chats. The first one to come on that chat was TN Session, who was hugely computer savvy. The second person was LK Advani. That said, what did happen was that Mr. Advani said, all that is fine, I'm happy to come on the chat, but somebody has to type for me. I'm not going to be typing answers. So there were a couple of us, one techie just to make sure that everything went off well, and one person to do the typing and all of that. One of the things I remember about that period is he never went into this, okay, what is this thing and how does this work and all of that. He just said, yeah, sure, I'm happy to do this. And he gave a date and time. I didn't realize that Modi, I mean, that's a bet that we missed.
Yeah.
We should have had him on chat. Yeah.
But Advani was also very quote unquote tech savvy, whatever that means.
He was interested in pretty much anything that was going around, anything that he thought would have an impact on not just politics, but society, culture. He was very knowledgeable, and he was also a very curious minded person. He would ask all sorts of questions. So back then he was asking, okay, so what is the business model here? You know, on the internet. So yeah.
जब ये शास्त्र मेरे सामने आया तो मैं उसका पोटेंशियल समझ गया कंप्यूटर का। कंप्यूटर, इंटरनेट, इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी, और फिर तो उसमें मन इतना लग गया कि कभी रात को देर देर तक मैं इंटरनेट पे खोया रहता हूँ। बहुत सी सारी दुनिया की चीजों पर बुक शॉप में चला जाता हूँ।
कंप्यूटर के अलावा आपके और शौक क्या है?
मैं हॉर्स राइडिंग करता हूँ, मैं ट्रैकिंग करता हूँ। एवरेस्ट की हाइट है 29,000 फीट, मैं 3,000 फीट तक हुआ हूँ। मैं कैलाश मानसरोवर पैदल करके आया हूँ।
सुना कि आपने तमाम किताबें लिखी?
हाँ, मैंने किताबें लिखी हैं। अभी भी मेरा लिखने का शौक है, मैं लिखता रहता हूँ, लेकिन राजनीति में आने के बाद कुछ कम हो गया है।
कहते हैं जितने पदाधिकारी हैं बीजेपी के, सबसे ज्यादा टिप टॉप स्मार्ट कपड़ों से, चश्मे से, पेन से, वेशभूषा से आप ही रहते हैं।
सबसे रहता हूँ ऐसी बात है तो मुझे अच्छा लगेगा, लेकिन मैं रहना चाहता जरूर हूँ। मैं मानता हूँ कि बहुत अच्छे ढंग से रहना चाहिए।
पार्टी की संस्कृति के थोड़ा विरुद्ध तो नहीं है?
मैं,
क्योंकि सादगी जो है पार्टी में बड़ा जोर है।
See, this is actually a repeating theme on whatever interviews I have seen during this period, that he is being constantly being called out for his, let's say, veshbhusha or like pens and all his shock, and his shock are many. If he learned horse riding, trekking, all these, you know,
absolutely,
like a shocking admi, I would call him, right? There is a repeated theme that RSS encourages you to be like a very humble, not so flashy person. But here is this man who is constantly being asked, why do you do this? Why are you like this? And he's saying, मुझे अच्छा लगता है.
So yeah, he's never made any bones about it, and all that has changed between then and now is that where earlier he would wear one set of clothes, look very spiffy and all of that. Today he wears about 5 or 6 in a day. In the course of a day.
Yeah.
That's right.
Worst day, yes.
But yeah, like you said, I mean, horse riding and all that is not something that you can. There is expense involved, but after all of this, he then ended up fighting the entire 2014 election on the theme of एक गरीब आदमी को कोई प्रधानमंत्री बन के देखना नहीं चाहते हैं. Congress particularly, the entitled party doesn't want to see a poor man. If India had poor people like this, I mean, we would have been much better off, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And so where does this victim narrative come from, honestly? I was thinking about this, that when you're a politician, I believe that you have to plant legends. Like if you are looking at a long-term vision, I've worked with politicians, and they always do this attempt of planting stories about themselves which get talked about in the circles, and that is how their legend grows, right? Modi had been planting legends like this, which is essentially they're talking about his shock, which is horse riding, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
How is it that in 2014 it suddenly skipped this entire part in the middle and it ended up being, oh, I came from Chaiwala and now I'm Prime Minister? There's a lot
Yeah.
that happened in the middle.
Yeah, I remember writing a blog post about this once, saying that it's kind of akin to saying that Barack Obama was flipping hamburgers in a joint and then he became the president.
Yeah.
It elides all the intervening period when he was a community organizer, then he stood for election, then he became a state senator in Illinois, then stood for president. All of that is gracefully elided. Whatever else you think about him, the guy, at least when it comes to self-promotion, he is on the ball. He knows what he is doing. He thinks deeply about these things. So imagine a guy coming into 2014, knowing to 2013, when, like you pointed out, he first announced his desire to be a PM candidate. He's coming in without being able to shake the baggage of Godhra, of Gujarat 2002 and all of that. And the only way that you can do that is to create an alternate narrative of, if I'm asked any questions, I flip it around and say that is because you can't bear to see a poor man's son, a chaiwala's son, become something. This was basically deflection, which he uses a lot. You talked about victimhood. This is the guy who actually has somebody in his office keeping an Excel sheet of the abuses that have been. You remember during the Karnataka election, he was going around saying 91 times they have abused me.
Yeah.
And then promptly, I think Amit Malviya, one of those guys, released an Excel sheet of when the abuse happened and when, who abused it, what the abuse was, date, time. They didn't rate it on a Richter scale, but everything else was there. So yeah, victimhood has always been. It's also interesting, right? I mean, in a funny kind of way, one thought led to another, and I was once looking at the Mayo Clinic's. I wrote about that also recently. The Mayo Clinic's page on narcissistic personality disorder.
Yeah.
And you find a lot of this in there.
Yeah.
One, you are greater than everybody else. Two, you are constantly being victimized. And the cognitive dissonance between these two things doesn't appear to actually strike the person who's saying all this.
I was talking to someone about this, a psychologist only earlier, and they said that, and I agree with them. They said that narcissism actually is a requirement for political people who are in politics, and also people like actors, because unless you feel good about yourself at a level that others don't see it, you can never do what you do. So I feel like it is a requirement for you to think of yourself as a legend so that you become a legend.
Yeah, or in fact, funnily enough, when I saw this, I had spoken to a psychologist just to check. And he said, you know what, you sit there and you write. And you're writing under the assumption that people are actually interested in what the hell you think.
Yeah.
There is an element of narcissism there as well. Yeah. He said, as a journalist, you're a narcissist.
Absolutely.
You think that you know more, or you can see things better, or whatever it is, and you take on yourself the job of educating others. You can't do that without a certain self-regard. And I guess he is right.
Funny that we've been talking about his Chaiwala days, but here is something that BJP Uttar Pradesh has tweeted out, which is December 2nd, 2013, a long time ago. Now, there are like a few images of him. There is a very interesting image right here on the side of him as a Chaiwala. Right here, right? So Zubair basically tweeted out this one, which is like he cut it out. It's really weird. I mean, I don't know what you think about it.
No, it is very weird because, I mean, I saw this exactly from the same source. I saw it from Zubair's timeline. I think he did it today.
Yeah.
I saw it and I was like, see, I'm a Mallu.
Yeah.
Tea shops are where we go.
Yeah.
All our social, cultural activities, everything is centered around a tea shop. I haven't seen anyone do this.
I mean, have you seen anyone take a photograph of this? Except for Dolly, I would say.
Yeah. But remember these pictures of Swachh Bharat?
Yes.
Where you had all these ministers, men, women, both,
right,
with brooms in their hands and all that. And you took one look and said, okay, this guy does not know how to hold a broom. There
Absolutely.
is no way on. Yeah, that is what this reminded me of. There was also a recent picture of Modi ostensibly working in a Gurdwara's langar. And I saw that picture. I saw the way he was holding that paddle that you use to move things around. And a friend of mine and I were promptly exchanging messages because, again, as a Mallu, one of the things that we get to do is when there are events at home and joint family, the cooking happens at home in these massive, what we call urlis. You are given the job of, stirring this
Correct.
damn thing, whatever it is, payasam ho ya VL ho, jo bhi ho. It's not easy.
Correct.
And you certainly don't hold it like a billiard cue
Yeah.
because it's not going to. Those things are iron. They weigh a ton.
Yes.
So one of the things that have always amused me about this version of the BJP is it's a party that is almost entirely built on propaganda. It is the potential village of a party, and yet they somehow managed to successively mess up every single propaganda photograph or video there is. There was Modi in a school that was so fake.
Yes.
What you have just pointed out is that I thought this was a relatively recent phenomenon. Apparently, it isn't.
Yeah.
Because I'd never seen this picture before. It's quite fascinating.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on to the next one. This is from 1998. Okay.
Okay.
I'm just going to play it.
आप कह रहे हैं कि हम 2020 में तुमको एक ऐसा शासन देने वाले हैं जो कि इतना बढ़िया। वो 2020 की बात नहीं सोच रहा है, वो आज की बात सोच रहा है। हमने किसी को नहीं कहा हम 2020 में ये करेंगे और कहा ये करेंगे। हाँ, राजीव गांधी ने कहा था 21वीं सदी की बात।
I think this is a chronic habit that he has, which is like he's essentially saying ki this is 98, so he's saying 2020 is when we will solve like unemployment and price rise, which essentially is asking about.
I think all that has happened between then and now is that he's realized that if you put any kind of hard deadline, sooner or later it comes to you. So 2020 came. So now he just said, I have 1,000-year vision.
Yeah, 1,000 years.
Yeah. So now the problem solved.
Nobody will be alive by then.
2047, I know I won't be alive. I'm not going to be around to answer or ask questions about, what state the country is in. But 1,000 years, we are good.
Yeah.
We are sorted.
Yeah. Nobody's there to check also then.
Yeah. It's always a good idea when you make a promise not to put a firm deadline to it because you think that the deadline is far enough and you can manage in the meantime. But these things come back to haunt you. And particularly in the age of the internet, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not just some random pesky reporter who you can get rid of. The whole bloody internet comes after you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So abhi chodo. In fact, if you remember the India Today conclave, Arun Puri and Koel Puri were on stage and Modi was holding forth. And I think it was Arun Puri who asked that question about, are you already planning for 2029? And Modi's response was, आप तो 2029 पे पड़े हुए हैं, मैं तो 2047 के बारे में सोच रहा हूँ.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So he always gives himself that nice long rope. Abhi tomorrow, if you ask him why is the trade deficit up or whatever, 2047 का मैं planning कर रहा हूँ. अभी disturb मत करो मुझे.
अभी disturb मत करो. Yeah. And funny because so earlier reaction videos that we did when he's giving interviews, right? And he's been asked, for example, like he's going on stage and saying कि बड़े निर्णय लेने हैं 2024 में बड़े निर्णय लेने हैं, and he keeps saying that I have 2024 का vision, I'm thinking of 2029 in the short term, but I also have a 100-day plan made in the first 100 days what I want to do. Elections don't matter because I want to focus on governance. That's his claim. Every time he's been asked ki, sir, please tell us a little bit about this 100-day plan and what you want. What do you want to do? First, he would avoid it. He will start talking about 2047 or the 1,000-year vision.
Yeah.
The second that now he started doing is basically he says that, oh yeah, I've told my officers to make it. Whenever I get the time, I will go and check it out. I mean, but the whole point of standing for elections is to base it on a plan. So why won't you reveal what is happening in 100 days?
No, I disagree. I mean, the whole point of standing for election is to retain your hold on the seat. There doesn't seem to be any other point to this particular election.
Wouldn't you say that the way you hold on to your seat is by revealing the plan and convincing the people in an ideal world?
No, see, in an ideal world, let's stay in India of 2024 right now.
Yeah.
The problem is, one, he doesn't have solutions. this is particularly been fascinating because he's given some 80 odd interviews. I've forced myself to either watch or read about 25 of them. I've never seen a substantive question about how do we revive the economy.
Yes.
How do we, solve for, let's say, border disputes. I don't want to use the word China because, who else doesn't use the word China? But how do we resolve border issues? None of the pressing, what are we going to do about this demographic dividend that is rapidly turning into a demographic disaster? None of these questions get asked. These are the questions you want to have policies on. Now, the thing is, if we had policies about these things, you wouldn't have landed in this shit in the first place.
Correct.
So for the last 10 years, there's been no policy. It's been like fly on a wing and a prayer. कुछ भी करो, किसी ने बोला demonetization करने से बहुत बढ़िया असर मिलेगा, चलो demonetization कर लेते हैं.
Yeah.
GST, डालो GST. And then keep tweaking it every week. So everybody is so damn confused that nobody knows what you're supposed to pay for what. There's no thinking at all.
Right.
I remember on the day the results were coming, I was in the Yahoo newsroom and there was a colleague of mine, a senior colleague, who was very pro-Modi. So he came up to me when the results were not fully announced, but it was fairly clear where it was headed. And he said, chalo, abhi disagreement chhod do. It is going to be a Modi government. What do you think the opportunity is? So I said, look, all of you are saying, and I agree.
This was back in 2014.
2014,
Right.
yeah. So I said, look, all of us agree that at least for the last 2 years, probably the last 3 years of UPA 2, there was a policy paralysis. Nothing was happening. Right? Part of the time they were fighting all these accusations of corruption. Part of the time the advisory council that Sonia had put together was at odds with whatever Manmohan Singh wanted to do. Everything was getting log-jammed. So I said, look, if you go through everything that should have been done during that period and just make sure they get done, you will immediately see progress. And you have the people capable of doing that. You had Yashwant Sinha. And so we were talking about an ideal cabinet. And I said, I don't really care who handles home, some Rajnath Singh type for that. And, Arun Jaitley for external affairs, all of that. I would love to see Yashwant Sinha as the finance minister, Arun Shourie as the minister for industries, and Subramanian Swamy as the minister for disinvestment.
Right.
I said it would be a dream economic team. All Modi has to do is step away and let them run the thing.
Let them run it, yeah.
Yeah, and you will have a fantastic rate of growth because the low base effect is kicking in, right? I mean, you've had 3 years of pretty much stagnant growth. None of it happened. These were the exact 3 people who were pushed way to the sidelines because you can't have somebody who's smarter than you anywhere around you because then they show you up.
This has been a chronic problem, like basically since the beginning of time, I can guess, which is essentially he kept Arun Jaitley close. Arun Jaitley was let a free run for a while, but then it also seems like he had no idea in a way what Arun Jaitley was doing also. In a lot of ways, Arun Jaitley was running his own ship.
He had this his Rolodex of journalists, right? For the early morning briefings and all that. I still remember when Arun Jaitley passed away, one of the first reactions that I saw on Twitter was Navika Kumar's impassioned post saying,
I called him every morning.
I call him every, who am I going to, when I wake up, who am I going to call? And I was like, you're a freaking journalist.
What is happening?
I mean, we all know that he was running the media and all of that, but you're not supposed to, at the very least, don't say it in public.
Like in a heartfelt outburst of emotion.
Yeah, thoda zyada ho gaya. But in both the finance ministers that Modi has had, Arun Jaitley and Nirmala Sitharaman, he picked a lawyer in the first place. But that aside, basically he ran the economy. Arun Jaitley's job was to manage the media and to run his own, whatever the rackets were that he was running. And Nirmala Sitharaman's job was to be an apologist for the government.
Absolutely.
To say, I don't eat onions, what is the problem if the price of onions go up? And all that.
The
man is intellect averse. And that also he turned into sort of positive, right?
Yeah, he did, anti-intellectual, hard work versus Harvard sort of.
Harvard and all of that.
तान में उसके बाद किसी ने नहीं की। जनता का आज ये कहना है कि ठीक है, आपने हमको प्याज महंगा दिया, हमको प्याज महंगा पड़ा, लेकिन हमसे ज्यादा आपको प्याज महंगा पड़ा। हाँ, मैं मानता हूं कि महंगाई ये मुद्दा बना इस चुनाव में और उसके कारण भारतीय जनता पार्टी को नुकसान झेलना पड़ा है, लेकिन उसके पीछे जो कोई कारण है वो काफी चर्चा हो चुकी है, अखबार में हो चुकी है, गलत आकलन हो गए, उसके आधार पर गलत नीतियां पुरानी सरकारों की बनी, बाद में जो समस्या आई, मौसम का मार पड़ा है, सारी बातें जानते हैं। और जब चुनाव रिजल्ट आने के बाद कांग्रेस के एक वरिष्ठ अर्थशास्त्री नेता से पूछा गया, अच्छा बताओ भाई आप क्या ब्याज से प्याज दोगे, तो रिजल्ट आते हुए फटक गए, अरे भाई अभी चर्चा छोड़ो, वो बाद में हम.
People were talking about asking him about महंगाई back then also, but at least he had answers.
Did you notice something funny about the answers? He says अखबारों में चर्चा हो रही है. उस टाइम पे और इस टाइम पे फर्क बस इतना है कि अखबारों में भी चर्चा नहीं हो रही है.
That's very true. Yeah.
Remember his comment to the BBC when he was asked about what lesson did he learn from Godra, and he said, I should have learned to manage the media better.
Yes, yes.
The man did learn that lesson. He did manage the media better. So give him credit for that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. He's saying that आपको प्याज महंगा पड़ेगा. And I've heard this so many times now from like people who are senior, who have followed politics for a while, about how price rise led to the downfall of the first BJP government. And governments before that and later as well, where the price of onion or price of kerosene was such a big deal that the governments fell. Do you think in 2024 we are seeing a repeat of that?
Yeah, history. What is that line about history repeating first as tragedy and then as farce? Because recently, when Modi was supposed to go to Nashik for a rally, the first thing the local cops did there was arrest some 50-60 onion farmers.
Onion farmers, yeah.
To prevent them from coming and creating a ruckus.
Yep.
Why were the onion farmers creating a ruckus? Because when they had stock, you put a ban on exports, and then once the stock either rotted or they sold it for whatever price they could get, and there started to be a scarcity, you imported onions.
Right.
The farmers lost both ways. They've been pissed. And a person who's gone through this should have remembered that ultimately it boils down to my har roz ka pet ka sawal.
That's very interesting what you said. This is in 1998. He has already been through this. He's giving justifications for this. We are so many years forward. One would think that you would have at least a solution by this time. That कि क्या करना है exactly इस situation में.
You would have a solution, but the thing is that the government, unfortunately, has shown no signs of wanting to address any of the issues that are really, let's say, bread and butter issues. He was making a speech, and in that speech, something that he said has always stayed in my head. He says, मैंने मनमोहन सिंह जी से मिला था और मैं उनको कहा कि आप ये फिजूल में GDP, VDP इसके बारे में बात क्यों करते रहते हो भाई, कुछ बड़ा करो. आप एक अनाउंस करो कि अहमदाबाद से मुंबई तक एक बुलेट ट्रेन जाएंगे. कोई नहीं लेगा वो ट्रेन, लेकिन दुनिया देखेगा कि भारत इस देश भी कुछ कर सकता है. All of this has been, we'll build the grandest temple, we'll build the biggest statue, we'll send a bullet train from here to there. These are the priorities. कि दुनिया को दिखाना है कि हम भी कुछ कम नहीं है.
Interestingly enough,
दिखाने के लिए फोटो तो और कहीं देश से ले रहे हैं, वो अलग मामला.
Obsession with image, right from the beginning, right? Which is like you are obsessed with your personal image, which is like, oh, I carry a communicator or a laptop, or like I wear this and that and etc. Then there is an external sort of need to basically show yourself in a certain way, take your photographs in a certain way, you should be viewed in a certain way, and that has just gone to the next level in the last 2-3 years. With all
you remember that clip that there was about, so Modi is walking, cameras are all lined up and Modi is walking and there are some 3-4 people waiting to greet him. And the best part of that clip is once the guy is in the perfect position for Modi to, walk past the camera, note the difference between the way he walks before this interaction and how he does a slow-mo walk afterwards.
Yeah.
There is this, that measured, stately. It's great fun. I mean, if it wasn't so, let's say, if it wasn't a bloody train wreck in so many ways.
It's a very entertaining thing to analyze, to look at.
I mean, how do you actually? I was trying to figure out how to say it's an entertaining train wreck, which will get me abused, but it is.
I keep saying this on my streams and all the time nowadays on my channel that listen, emotional investment into politics is not a good idea. So let's just look at it as entertainment. Because honestly, politicians don't want to invest emotionally in the people who are voting for them. So why should we give them the same sort of.
Yeah. See, I do the same thing. I giggle, and then there are these calls with friends who are like-minded people, and we are exchanging notes. So did you see this? Did you see that? The problem, though, is then my wife goes out to the market, comes back, and says, "What the hell is this? Why is there a GST on this? And why is this price gone up? And why is beans at $200 a kilo?" And मेरा पूरा mood खराब हो जाता है उधर ही.
Absolutely, I agree. This is a clip from sometime around 2008, and the lady you see is Swati Chaturvedi.
Yeah.
And there was this famous interview. It has been put in parts on multiple channels, but this is one part which I thought was very interesting.
मैं आई एम कमिटेड पर्सन, जो काम मुझे दिया जाता है उसी में अपनी क्षमता कैसे बढ़ाऊं, ज्यादा अच्छा काम कैसे करूं, मैं लगा रहा।
एक दिन में कितने घंटे काम करते हैं?
कह नहीं सकता, लेकिन शायद मेरे साथी मित्र मुझे कहते रहते हैं कि मोदी जी कभी वैकेशन लीजिए, कभी आराम कीजिए, लेकिन शायद मैं नहीं कर पाऊंगा, मुझे वो आता ही नहीं।
आपने आखिरी वेकेशन कब लिया था?
मुख्यमंत्री बनने के बाद 15 मिनट भी वैकेशन नहीं लिया है।
तो कभी थकते नहीं?
ये काम ऐसा है ना, थक जाऊंगा तो काम कैसे करूंगा।
आपका फेवरेट खाना क्या है?
नॉर्मली मैं खिचड़ी खाना पसंद करता हूँ। इसका कारण ये है कि मैं मेरी जिंदगी में बहुत सालों तक अकेला रहा हूँ, तो खाना पकाना सबसे सुविधाजनक था, वो खुद पकाता था, इसलिए खिचड़ी सबसे सरल थी, उसी का टेस्ट लग गया।
आप थकते क्यों नहीं है? This whole thing that is basically now, we are cursing Rubika Liaquat for, or, I think a bunch of people. She was asking in 2008. I was very surprised.
Yeah. No. This thing of I never get tired, I'm always working, this has been a constant ever since he came into the limelight. Even if I'm not mistaken, around the 2000, that is shortly after the election, after he won, he said this, I never get tired, I'm constantly working. And it continues, right? I mean, the mythologists who surround him say that he sleeps for 4 hours. See, there is a kind of competitive cultism that's going on in this party. So if I say something about Modi aisa hai, Modi waisa hai, then the next person wants to say something even more dramatic. I mean, मुझे और भी थोड़ा बड़ा चढ़ा के बोलनी है. तो कंगना रनौत से आपको मालूम नहीं है, ये आदमी बस 3 घंटे सोते हैं और एक ही बार खाना खाता है. तो 4 घंटा has now become 3 घंटा.
Yes.
At some point, we are going to get to a point where the guy never sleeps.
Yeah.
The funny part about it is, doctors will tell you that one, malnutrition is not good for you. It can affect not only your physical well-being, but also your mental well-being. And
Absolutely.
sleep deprivation is very bad for you because it first affects your mental well-being. This guy is a mixture of both, according to him and to his mythologists, which actually makes me worried.
Yeah, absolutely.
ऐसा नहीं है कि जो अपना ही पेट भरना चाहते।
मेरे सारे दर्शक जानना चाहते होंगे कि आपके इंटरेस्ट क्या है, मतलब किसी को पता नहीं है कि आप अपने गुजरात चलाने के अलावा करते क्या हैं?
अभी तो सिवाय गुजरात कुछ नहीं करता हूँ, क्योंकि मेरा मन इसी में लगा है। ईश्वर ने मुझे जितना समय दिया है, जितनी शक्ति दी है, उस पर सिर्फ गुजरात के नागरिकों का अधिकार है। लेकिन जब मैं मुख्यमंत्री नहीं था, तब मैं योग की दुनिया का इंसान हूँ, मैं योग वगैरह से जुड़ा हुआ रहता हूँ। मैं हिमालय में बहुत रुचि रखने वाला व्यक्ति हूँ, मैं हिमालय में बहुत घुमा हूँ, मैं कैलाश मानसरोवर यात्रा कर चुका हूँ। फोटोग्राफी मेरा कभी शौक रहा करता था, कल तो कैमरा पकड़ नहीं पा रहा हूँ मैं। लिखना पढ़ना मेरा शौक है, मैं लिखता हूँ, पढ़ता हूँ, कविताएं लिखता हूँ, मेरी किताबें छपी हैं।
किस तरह की कविताएं आप लिखते हैं?
समाज जीवन की बातें हैं, ह्यूमन टच है उसमें।
मतलब नो रोमांटिक पोएट्री?
अगर कोई उसमें से रोमांस ढूंढना चाहे तो ढूंढ सकता है।
आप ढूंढते हैं कि नहीं?
मैं प्रकृति को प्रेम करता हूँ।
नथिंग रोमांटिक अबाउट नरेंद्र मोदी।
अच्छा अगर होता तो क्या है,
लेकिन आपकी किताब है, जैसे आप कह रहे हैं आपका एक राइटिंग शौक, ये सारे जो आपके शौक हैं, जैसे फोटोग्राफी, राइटिंग या इवन ट्रेकिंग, हिमालय में घूमना, ये सब एकदम अकेले आदमी करता है। मतलब ये कोई जैसे नहीं, जैसे
घर में गाता था पहले, बहुत नाचता था घर में।
नरेंद्र मोदी घर में गाते थे?
हम बहुत घर में करते थे, अभी तो छूट गया क्योंकि अपना दायित्व बदल गया। कोई गुजराती ऐसा नहीं होगा जो गरबा नहीं करता होगा।
नहीं, वो तो ठीक है, लेकिन
हजारों के लोगों के बीच में गरबा खेलते हैं।
जो भी मेरा दर्शक देख रहा होगा, सुनकर एकदम अचंभा होगा उसको।
मैं नहीं जानता हूँ उनको आश्चर्य क्यों होगा, क्योंकि
So this is a very deflective answer that he gave, but the whole clip is about her essentially trying to get an answer for, are you lonely?
Yeah.
Modi ji, are you lonely? Right? Because all the things that you described, photography, trekking alone in the Himalayas, everything sounds extremely lonely. This is actually a very interesting phenomenon which I only see in Indian politics, and I feel like it is very extremely unhealthy as well, which is you have basically made it a virtue that you don't have a family, that you are one person. That doesn't sound healthy to me, honestly. Your thoughts can go to extremely dark places when you're lonely, and if there is nobody, like a friend or a partner to stop you from that phase, it can lead to disaster. And this person is a prime minister, so
Yeah, true. I mean, there are two things in there that were interesting. One is this loneliness thing that you brought up, and the other one is this constant thing about my liktata. And every time I hear him say or talk about his writing, the image that comes to me is this is in one of those gurdwaras, I forget where he's writing with his pen poised about an inch over the paper and
Yes.
nothing is showing, right? So I don't know why. Every time I listen to this, and I've read some of the translations of his letters to his mom, all of those, and this damn image keeps coming. The internet is not all it's cut out to be, because it puts these things in your head and you can never get it out.
Yes.
The other part about it, loneliness. See, the thing is, for instance, I like my space. So for large parts of the day, I'm in this room. I put on my earphones, I put on music, so I have very little idea of what's going on. So anytime my wife wants to catch my attention, what she does is she'll either send a WhatsApp message if she's in the other room doing whatever it is, or she'll come to the door and just wait.
Correct.
So that I notice her. Being alone and comfortable in your skin is one thing. What I've never got a sense of from him is that he is comfortable in his skin. There is always this thing of wanting to demonstrate something, wanting to be something, wanting to be. I've been fascinated by the way his self-image is morphed. I mean, forget about the Gujarat part. You start with the chaiwala and then you go into the chowkidar. There was a time when everybody was maybe chowkidar. Now none of them are chowkidars anymore. All the homes are left unguarded. Wo chodo.
Yeah.
But he became chowkidar. Then suddenly there was this fort Gore beard and all that he grew. West Bengal election was going on, so he suddenly decided to become a poet, philosopher, king,
Rabindranath, yes.
yeah. So there's a song in Tamil. The line is Tadigal ellam Tagora, Mesegal ellam Bharatiya. Translated means not everybody with a beard is a Tagore and not everybody with a mush is a Subramanya Bharati. Then he went through this whole saint king kind of thing, where he went off to Kedarnath. People who meditate, they always say you seek solitude, you seek pure air, because the more oxygen that your brain is, your thoughts clarify, all of that. So he goes to a place where there is absolutely nobody around, the purest air you can find. The only people around are obviously the three ANI still photographers and the three videographers.
Of course.
Other than that, no human anywhere around. Also the person who laid out the red carpet and all of that. But anyway, relatively pristine area. So he goes and meditates.
Yes.
Then he comes back and he decides that, no, I want to be he's taking a leave from Louis XIV, I am the state kind of thing. And he moves into this whole Sengol phase.
Yes.
Where he is the divinely appointed. The scepter is usually seen as that sign of the divine right to rule, right? So he has the scepter. And now he is a god. Non-biological, some almighty dunzoed him down to earth and said, Jaake balai karo sabka, or at least balai karo kuch logon ka, wo jo bhi ho. Not privy to the instructions that he was given when he was sent down. And the nice thing about Modi, a couple of things interesting about Modi is, one, he manages to be in his mythos, he manages to be both the deity and the head priest.
How do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, he's constantly celebrating himself. He's installed himself as a deity.
Yes.
But he's also, look at the way he's constantly talking about Modi.
Yeah, the third person thing.
Yeah.
He's talking about himself in the third person. Yeah. As if he's a symbol.
Yeah. So Modi ne socha hai, Modi ne kaha hai, and I'm wondering, aap kaun?
Yeah, exactly. So essentially you're saying that, of course, he's like this deity which he has installed, but he's also praising the deity himself.
He is praising the deity.
So he's the priest as well.
Yeah, he's the head priest, he's the pope, or whichever religious this thing you want to call it. And he's also the admired of all admirers, if you will.
Correct.
I suppose pathologies don't go away, they just magnify unless there is adequate treatment at adequate times. And you're seeing that in action.
मैं आस्थावादी हूँ, मैं परम शक्ति में विश्वास करता हूँ, लेकिन मैं ये मानता हूँ कि मुझे उसको परेशान नहीं करना चाहिए। उसने मुझे यहाँ जिस काम के लिए भेजा है वो मुझे करना चाहिए, उससे नहीं करवाना चाहिए। ईश्वर को बार बार जाके परेशान मत करो, ये करो वो करो। लेकिन हम लोग तो क्या है, सुबह शाम जा करके आरती उतार उसको कहते हैं ये करो वो करो, कि वो कोई हमारा एजेंट है क्या? परमात्मा ने हमें भेजा है, परमात्मा हमसे जो करवाएगा हमें करना चाहिए, परमात्मा जो सद्बुद्धि देगा वो सद्बुद्धि के आधार पर चलना चाहिए।
I found this interesting, this bit where he's talking about परमात्मा ने हमें भेजा है वो काम करना चाहिए. Sounds very normal. This has evolved though. Like, yeah, now at this point of time.
Yeah, it's a 180-degree turn, right?
Yeah.
Not only is he the Paramatma who sent himself. I mean, just today I saw this thing about on May 31st, he's going down to Kanyakumari to meditate at the exact same place where Swami Vivekananda meditated. And he will meditate from May 31st evening till the evening of June 1st.
Fun. You know, I predicted this today morning where I said that Adarniya will go into a cave because there will be silent period of election happening. And last time he went to Kedarnath. Fun that he's going to Kanyakumari. He changed the venue completely. Yes.
Also the direction, no? Abhi South mein gaya.
Yeah, I'm South.
But I mean, this is the guy who's constantly on a temple. Forget about going on a temple run. He's become a priest also. He was the one who did the Pran Pratishtha ceremonial pretty much.
Yes.
सबके लिए अभी परमात्मा की जरूरी पड़ती है, which is kind of reminds me of something that my grandfather used to say back when I was a kid and I'd still not moved to Chennai. I was still in Calicut. Just before some exam in the school, I would go and take some vibhuti and apply it and all that. So my grandfather caught me at it once and said, you know what, he's not going to come and write your exam for you. And going up to him and asking him for help and all that on the day of the exam and all that, forget it. Usko pata hai ki tum drama kar rahe ho.
Yeah.
Varun Grover had this brilliant line about Rahul Gandhi. When Rahul Gandhi started talking about the Janeo and all that, and he was, he was going to this temple, that temple. So he's going to a Shiva temple and Varun says, bro, tum cheating mat kar. उसको पता है कि तुमने वो धोती सब बाड़े पे लिया है और इधर जब मंत्र उच्चारण चल रहा है तो तुम्हारे सर के अंदर बोहेमियन रैप्सोडी चल रहा है. तो I don't quite know what his musical tastes are, but Modi, even when he's doing these things, one eye is the camera in the right place.
Yes.
He doesn't seem to be in it, but he's constantly in this religious space.
One thing which you noticed, like even with the Ram Mandir Pran Pratishtha that happened, it was strange because so the idol is there, usually the priest, he's the head priest in this case. Mm-hmm. He should be like facing like this and doing the aarti. He was on the side. All of them were on the side, and this was the camera angle where the murti is here and you are like on the side, you are doing this. They carefully planned this out for sure. Like, I mean, like everything. Sure. Every little imagery that is coming out of that event is being choreographed and planned. The amount of time you need to spend to get that right is intense. Like, there needs to be like a proper director, right? So he seems to be the director in this case also.
Yeah, I mean, camera positioning. I saw this picture the other day. So he's praying in some temple, and this is a very small temple, not one of those big things. So there is this mandap-like thing, and there is a very small deity. And what the guy who posted this image had done was he had zoomed in close. And what you see is, so you see Modi from the back, and you're seeing him sort of pranaming the idol. And on the side, you're seeing a cameraman sitting facing this way, holding the camera up.
Like this.
Yeah. So this is to record him coming towards the thing, right? The guy is actually sitting under the idol. Yeah.
That's some thinking right there. Yeah.
Seriously. So you have to figure out all the angles. When I'm walking like this, which is the best angle, I don't know if he knows which is best profile is and all of that, but everything is beautifully choreographed.
Yeah.
Normally, if you're shooting something like this, what you do is you shoot 30 frames a second and bring it down to 24.
Yeah.
Which gives you that nice, slow, gentle movement, eliminate shake and all that. This guy doesn't need that. You can shoot him at 24 because when he has to do the slow motion walk, he does that.
Yeah,
the only other person who does it the only other person who does that so well is Rajnikant in real life. So yeah.
Okay, now we are going fast forwarding to 2016 now, and this is I think your favorite thing ever.
अगर उसे अवसर मिले, मौका मिले, जिम्मेवारी की बात आ जाए, जैसा आपने करके दिखाया, वह भी पीछे रहने वालों में से नहीं है, ये मैं अनुभव से जानता हूं. अभी का मेरा ताजा अनुभव है. कौन से वाला? आपको आपको भी पता है कि अचानक 8 तारीख को रात को 8 बजे 500 और 1000 की नोट मैं 125 करोड़ देशवासियों को नमन करता हूं, सलाम। घर में शादी है, पैसे नहीं है, मां बीमार है, 1000 की नोटों का थप्पा है, लेकिन मुश्किल है।
This is atrocious, like the whole thing, and I think usually people show this much. I just want to show the last line and then I will take your comment after this.
इन सब के बावजूद तकलीफ है, ये पता है, खुद को है पता है, अड़ोस पड़ोस को है पता है, उसके बावजूद भी लोग मुंह में उंगली डाल डाल करके पूछवाते थे, मोदी को कुछ बोलो।
This is what I wanted to also add to it. He's talking about demonetization, of course.
Well,
for
you
those
know,
who don't know.
Funnily enough, the first time I saw it, what struck me was not so much the absolute lack of empathy that he shows, which, I mean, it's borderline sociopathic.
Yeah.
You're saying, I've just screwed the entire bloody country, and then you're laughing about it. But what struck me was when he says that, Bharat Mata ki jai,
From the crowd.
audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, out loud, lots of people. And I'm like, what are you thinking? Okay, fine. You're sitting in a country which is not affected by all this nonsense that he's
Japan.
keeping on. Yeah, in Japan. But what makes you come up with that slogan at that point? And I remember the first time seeing this, pausing the video and trying to figure out how we got here. How we got to this point where we're completely devoid of empathy. It's become impossible for us to understand suffering the way we used to. Look, a lot of these people, none of them were born in 2014. Again, it's a point I've made in one of my pieces that it's not that we jumped up and down about every little, atrocity that happened, little or big. But we were still a country that sometimes things go so bad that it rouses all of us.
Correct.
It brings us onto the streets. We refuse to leave the streets until some sort of resolution has happened. And then 2014 happens, and from there, the same country, you can name the atrocity you want. We're never on the streets. And when people do take to the streets out of sheer desperation, whether it is the JNU Jamia protest, the CAA protest, the farmers protest, we're like, yeah, okay, uska problem hai ye. I've actually spent not a lot of time, but sufficient time in the Shaheen Bagh area to realize that after that initial outpouring of sympathy, it became a tourist spot.
It did. Yes, I agree.
It was like, शाम को आज शाहीन बाग जाके 2-3 सेल्फी मार लेता है. वो भी दादी माँ को मिला तो बहुत बढ़िया, because बहुत चलेगा. So
maybe in a way, correct me if I'm wrong, in a way that there are like these displays nowadays, public displays of a lack of humanity and empathy, right? Which is very evident in this clip, but also particularly Shaheen Bagh. Even in farmers' protest, like when I went there and I was covering farmers' protest for 3-4 days, it was very obvious that there were these very burly Punjabi young men who were just coming there to make reels.
At that time, I hadn't read this book, but there is, I hope I'm pronouncing the name right. It's Eki Temelkuran, ECETMELKURAN, who wrote a book called How to Lose a Country, The 7 Steps from Democracy to Dictatorship. She was writing this from the perspective of having lived in Erdogan's Turkey at the point where Erdogan shifted from being a populist Democrat with democratic intentions into being a flat-out dictator. I still remember the line that stopped me in my tracks was where she talks about that moment when armed thugs were on the streets beating up everybody who was seen as an enemy. And she says, and it all started when a populist rode into town, which made me stop and think. And the 7 steps that she talks about are: 1, create a movement. 2 is disrupt rationale and equally terrorize language. The 3rd is remove the shame. So basically, what was once shameful to utter in public is now hot.
Bigotry, sexism, all the things.
Absolutely, the whole lot. Misogyny,
Misogyny.
bigotry, yeah, all of those. Now, to be a bigot is a sign of having arrived. It is a sign that you're somebody.
Yeah.
We're doing competitive bigotry now.
Yeah.
The fourth was dismantle the judicial and political institutions. The fifth is design your own citizen, which flows from some of the above.
Right.
Because once you've terrorized language, once you've removed the shame of things and actually made it more of a cachet, you've built a different class of citizen. The citizen that you were talking about, that you saw at the farmers' protest, or the one
Yes.
that I was talking about when I saw at Shaheen Bagh. If not actively opposed to this, you are at the very least treating it as a spectacle. It doesn't touch you. Yeah.
Essentially,
it doesn't
it's not.
touch you.
There is a definite lack of emotions, feeling for, or just empathy to what is the cause, or what is how the people who are suffering.
Yeah. And the sixth step was let them laugh at the horrors.
Right.
Think about it. We are doing that right now.
We are doing it as well. And in
this is
clip,
laughing at the exactly.
They were doing it there. Yeah. Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the final step is build your own country, which is what they want to do if they win this election. It's an outstanding book because she writes it from the perspective of somebody who's lived through it. And then she's moved from Turkey to the US and she's watching the rise of Trump.
Absolutely.
So one of the things that...
Sorry, just as an interruption, I was just going to mention this book, which I have been trying to get through, which is Hannah Arendt's The Origins of Totalitarianism.
Absolutely.
I feel like she also documents this whole process of Holocaust and what happened, and in similar ways what you described. Yeah.
There is two classes of citizens. One is like जो भी हो रहा है अच्छा हो रहा है, जो भी किया है वो मोदी ने सोच समझ कर किया है.
भारत माता की जय.
भारत माता की जय. And there is another class of citizen who is like, what in the hell is going on? Has it happened before? And can I get some kind of GPS coordinates, a Google map, something to
understand, to process.
Yeah.
You know, interestingly enough, and this is the whole reason why I wanted to do this with you as well, because I have so many people coming to my live streams nowadays who are extremely young, and they are extremely confused about what is happening, because honestly, they have lived through the Modi era, like in their short age, and they have not seen anything other than that. They didn't experience the anger against UPA. They didn't experience anything that came before that. I wanted to show how Modi is the same person, just that there have been like some flares added, etc., some extremities now that he's like a national figure, everything. But originally, he was this one person as a Karyakarta who was image obsessed, and then also like constantly told people how hardworking he is, and also like how Bhagwan has sent him to do this task. And also fourth thing was that he always had this ambition in his head, which is now playing out.
You made the point about, a lot of young people, and I keep getting into contact with such people as well. People whose worldview, they were early teens or whatever when Modi came in, early to mid-teens, whatever, and their worldview is shaped by this. And the other thing that has happened, which has also contributed to the confusion they're feeling, is that everything that has gone before 2014 has been reduced to some kind of bumper sticker. 60 साल में कुछ नहीं हुआ है. 2014 में तो ये कहा गया था कि 60 साल में कुछ नहीं हुआ है. फर्क बस इतना है कि 2024 में आके बोल रहे हैं कि 70 साल में कुछ नहीं हुआ.
Yeah, and they were there for 10 years, actually more than 10 years if you count the Vajpayee era as well.
Yeah, Vajpayee era and all of that. But so for the young person, and I've had these kind of conversations. Once there was actually a group of college students who, one of whom was reading my blog back in the day when I was doing that blog regularly, and then I shifted to Substack more recently. And he reached out and said, will you come have a beer with us? My sense was they wanted to talk about cricket, because this guy used to correspond with me about, are you watching this and what do you think of the team that has been selected and all of that shit. It turned out to be about politics. And it was more like, samajh mein nahi aa raha, kya ho raha hai? And so when I've actually had questions about, don't you think the Congress was corrupt? I said, look, I can't go all the way back to Nehru, Shastri and all that, because I didn't live through that period.
Yes.
But for the period when I have been politically aware, which probably starts around the emergency, when I was a college student, from then to now, I don't know a time when politics was free of corruption.
Free of corruption. Exactly.
By the same token, I don't know a time when society was free of corruption. You paid to get things done, whether it was in the Nehruvian socialist period or the post, liberalization period. Corruption was endemic. The combination of corruption, arrogance, incompetence, all of that is what the problem is. So I had to explain to them that, look, corruption to hua hi tha. And during the Congress regime, there have been BJP regimes that have been corrupt in various states. Why do we have this worldview? What are we missing? And it's not that you're missing something. It is that you're filling your head with these inputs without asking it any questions.
Correct. The rise of, like, let's say a chaiwala to a prime minister was possible only because Congress made a system or made sure, and Congress, when she says, it means a union of people when it came together during that time and now, they created a system where it was possible for someone like Narendra Modi to even happen in 2014.
Anybody, I mean, we've had all sorts of such people, right? Babu Jagjeevan Ram, we've had Charan Singh, we've had Mayawati, we've had H.D. Devegowda. We've had all sorts of people from humble backgrounds. This is not happening for the first time.
Mallikarjun Kharge is a big example.
Kharge is a big example, yes. We've had politicians of both types. We've had entitled politicians, we've had this thing, and they're not party-centric.
Correct.
The thing that differs is, however slowly or however much in fits and starts or whatever, you saw slight incremental change for the better. What the government has done, its propaganda arm has done, is it has reduced our history to a bumper sticker. But it has also reduced every single issue there is to a bumper sticker. And the bumper sticker only gets bigger and bigger. Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. Then it became Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas. Then it became Sabka Saath, Sabka Vishwas, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas, Sabka Prayas.
Prayas, yes.
I don't know what the fifth one is going to be, if there is another term, but what is your campaign rhetoric? Nal ki tooti leke jayenge.
Yes.
I mean, and I'm trying to think, I heard somebody explain that, saying when you have a complex problem or a complex idea, you have to simplify it for this audience. You can't do, this kind of, you can't go into macroeconomics.
This is what Smita Prakash was arguing. That whole Mangal Sutra thing was a way of explaining to a lay audience what the Congress has said, but they never said it.
I've heard this done by high-quality politicians, or at least high-quality, realpolitik savvy politicians. For instance, VP Singh, I remember hearing a speech of his once, where he was saying, "Aap dur se wo bhand dekh rahe ho." He was pointing to the Bakra Nangal, and he said, "Is desh mein ek aadmi aisa hai." This is the Bofors scandal thing. He said, "Is desh mein ek aadmi hai jo aise 6 bhand pocket mein rakh ke ghoom raha hai."
Wow.
He was talking about the scale of the corruption. This guy is using examples that are so batshit. I mean, 2 bands है तो 1 band चुरा के लेके जाएगा, ठीक है भाई, लेकिन रखेगा कहाँ?
That's true. That's very true.
ये taps जो चोरी करके मैं लेके गया, और करूँ क्या मैं?
करूँ क्या? Exactly. अगर वो नल को नहीं लगाए तो मैं क्या करूँ? This is the one which I think a lot of people have seen by this time.
ना काट रही एक औरत ने मुझसे ये कहा था, और आज फिर मैं वो सवाल आपसे पूछूंगी। 5 साल पहले मैंने आपसे कहा था आप थकते क्यों नहीं हैं? आज 5 साल बीत जाने के बाद आप ज्यादा एनर्जेटिक मुझे लग रहे हैं, ज्यादा आपने रैलियां की है, ज्यादा आप काम कर रहे हैं। आप वाकई थकते क्यों नहीं हैं?
पहले जब तक माँ जिंदा थी, मुझे लगता था कि शायद बायोलॉजिकली मुझे जन्म दिया गया है। माँ के जाने के बाद इन सारे अनुभवों को मैं जोड़ करके देखता हूँ तो मैं कन्विंस हो चुका हूँ। गलत हो सकता हूँ, लेफ्टिस्ट लोग तो मेरे धज्जियां उड़ा देंगे।
लेफ्टिस्ट लोग धज्जियां उड़ा रहे हैं कंटिन्यूअसली
कि परमात्मा ने मुझे भेजा है।
So thoughts, Prem, about this behavior?
I was thinking, as any journalist, somebody tells me that this happened, and ये सारे अनुभव ने मुझे brought me to this realization, whatever it is. And my first question would be, this is interesting. आप जरा बता सकते हैं कि कौन सी अनुभव or experiences led you to realize that you were not biologically born, you were divinely dunzoed, or what is the
divinely ordained?
Ordained, no. Mukul Kesavan, I remember, had
a virgin birth, I guess.
No, he stopped short of virgin birth. I think he said divinely deputed or some such.
Okay. Prakat hue. Prakat hue.
So, I mean, I would want to know what these are. I mean, immediate curiosity. Let's let's forget the batshit insanity for a minute. But that immediate curiosity is, okay, tell me, how the hell did you get to this point? How did you get to this thought? Which never seems to occur. There is no questioning. It's just, I'll give you a softball and I'll watch as you hit it out of the park, and I'll say, wow, well done. And I'll give you another softball and I'll let you hit it out of the park.
So there is no,
But
I agree with you there, because in my head, if this was said to me, actually Rahul Gandhi made a nice skit out of this also, where it's like, if Kanhaiya Kumar comes to me tomorrow and says that I'm not biological, I will be like, भाई तू ये बाहर मत बोलियो, कोई एक तो तुझे पागल बोलेंगे या मारेंगे. Like, I mean, it's true though. Like, I mean, I was imagining my partner coming to me tomorrow and saying, listen, I don't think I'm biologically born. I think God has sent me to do great things. I would be like, I would hold her like this and I will shake her. I was like, listen, wake up, you're dreaming or something is wrong.
Yeah.
Why is this not happening to this man?
Because he's normalized this. No, in the first place, it is not happening to this man because you expect Rubika Liaquat to
do that.
Yeah. I mean, or even to tell him, look, boss, bahar mat boliyo, मैं ये segment edit out करूँगा, कुछ भी. वो तो नहीं होता है. And basically, he's been building up to this. Look, this आप तथ्य नहीं हो. It's not coming from the reporters. It is coming from his propaganda team. That this question needs to be included. Every goddamn interview, the same question. आप तथ्य नहीं हो. अच्छा, मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. Kharge साहब, if I remember correctly, is about 83.
Yes.
The man has been addressing rallies left, right, and center.
Yes.
Sharad Pawar is about 81 or 82. He has been going around campaigning and stuff like that. ये थकते क्यों नहीं है? Exactly. हाँ, अक्षय कुमार के इंटरव्यू से लेके आज तक ये एक सवाल मैं सुन रहा हूँ. And just 2 days ago, the latest one that came out, I don't know if he's done any in the last 2 days. The last one I saw, again, I think it was India Today, but a different group of 2 journalists. The first question was, आपको ये ऊर्जा कहाँ से मिलती है?
And no, that they tried to change the question a little bit, where they like, आप Red Bull पीते हैं क्या? आप कुछ और एक पीते हैं क्या? Tonic पीते हैं क्या? Yeah. This is the same hard work and Harvard sort of thing, like anti-intellectualism in one way, where you know, like, just hard work will get you there, not smart work.
But see, where I'm coming from is, मैं मानता हूँ यार, हार्ड वर्क से भी कहीं तो पहुंच सकते हैं. लेकिन मेरा सवाल ये है कि ये 10 साल का हार्ड वर्क दिखता कहाँ है? And if you have done all this work, I mean, it has actually manifested in something tangible. Why is your entire election campaign about ये लोग तुम्हारा मंगलसूत्र और बैंड्स और टूटी चुरा कर ज्यादा बच्चे पैदा करने वालों को दे
देंगे?
तो आप ये 10 साल 365 days 20 hours क्या भाई?
क्या किया?
उसका तो लिस्ट दो. बाकी गालियों का एक्सेल शीट जो टीम बना सकता है, ये भी बना सकता है ना. सवाल तो जायज है. आपकी ये ऊर्जा कहाँ से
आती है? ऊर्जा कहाँ से आती है? I'm going to end this with like a surprise clip which is actually came up today, and my researchers basically said that, you know, please include this, and I agree. This was posted today morning, which is 28th of May. This is JP Nadda.
सुरेंद्र मोदी वो नरों के ही नेता नहीं, अब सुरों के भी नेता है. यह बात आपकी जुबान से निकलती है, इस बात को समझना चाहिए. आपके ट्विटर से निकलती है. इसलिए भगवान भी शुभ सोच रहा है, इस बात को समझना चाहिए. यू शुड अंडरस्टैंड द लैंग्वेज ऑफ गॉड. मोदी जी नरों के ही नेता नहीं, नरों के ही राजा नहीं, सुरों के देवताओं के भी राजा. इस तरीके की भाषा बनती है, ये हमको समझना.
Oh my God. So, I mean, of course, more loyal than the king. Now that the king has said that I'm not biological, these people are like, of course, you two are like God of gods. You're above gods only.
Can you for a moment, mythologize this, which I'm fairly certain that it'll be done sooner than later. But think about how he got to that point. No, Nadda says you are the God of gods.
Yeah.
Which basically means that Amit Shah sent the Enforcement Directorate and the IT to raid people like Kuber and others who are known to have a lot of money. Usko ya to jail mein dala, nahi to kaksh badalne ko prerit kiya. He toppled Indra from Indra Sabha and installed Modi over there. I can't think of how else this could have happened.
Like the fantasy twist that we all needed in politics.
I mean, you could write dystopian fiction with this kind of stuff. And remember, we have a week to go. See, we have a week to go. Yeah, I mean, how else do you become the god of gods? Yeah,
Yes.
Indra is supposed to be the god of gods according to Hindu mythology. The only way I can think of is तुमने जैसे स्टेट असेंबली को पलट दिया, उधर जाके उधर भी पलट दिया बस,
Yeah.
इंदिरा सभा में जाके. अभी
ब्रह्मा
I'm
को
trying to.
रिटायर कर दिया
Yeah,
75 के
actually, I
पहले.
saw this clip, and you know the best part of it is, so I was thinking of this exact thing, saying there must have been this coup and all of that stuff, and then I was thinking, okay, Modi, Indra Sabha पे वो सिंहासन पर बैठकर, I was picturing Ramba, Urvashi, and Menaka dancing before him and wondering what this man is going to make of all this. I mean, वही तो, see, whenever you hear about Indra Sabha, this is all you hear. गंधर्व
Yes.
लोग हैं और रंबा मेनका
They're dancing,
उर्वशी
yes, of
सब
course.
हाँ
Yeah.
डांस कर रहे हैं, गाना की सब हो रही है. Hopefully, I mean, he does have, besides his interests in trekking and photography and writing and poetry and all of that, he also has a taste for music and dance, because he's going to get inundated with that shit.
Also, like in recently, yesterday he was like कि India Alliance जाके मुजरा करेंगे and all that. So
हाँ.
clearly he's aware of the concept at least.
Of yeah. और वो भी he is aware of the concept to the extent that he is लालटेन लेके मुजरा कर.
लालटेन लेके मुजरा,
ये ना.
exactly,
हाँ.
like addition, because वो symbol है, so वो लेके
हाँ,
नाचेंगे.
because these things happen. हाँ, वो गांव में होता है.
Can't fault
So-
him for these little details though.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Prem, I need to end this. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for doing this with me. I hope you had fun. Any last thoughts?
No, it's been fun. I'm, let's say, not looking forward to the aftermath of all this fun. I mean, I've been warned not only by a friend but also by my wife that तुम्हारा वो so-called sense of humor थोड़ा काबू में रखो. Hopefully, anyway, जो भी हो यार. No, the last thought is, seriously, you know what? I mean, I do exactly what you do. I look at these bizarre things and there's nothing else you can do. You just laugh. And sometimes out of frustration, I scribble. I half the things that I write, not even half, I would say about 80% of the things that I write never make it into the public domain because I don't want to get into that kind of trouble. But, you know, every now and again, I take a step back and say, look, once you've done something like this, once you've got the country to this point, you've done all your, you know, the 7 steps have all been taken. आज नहीं तो कल 2024 में नहीं तो 29 कभी तो this particular regime has to end. The country doesn't end. There's this, have you
I really thank you for doing this with me, and please send me your links on Substack. I will put them in the description below.
Yeah, sure.
And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Yep.
Been fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. That was Prem Panicker. You can find his socials, etc. in the link below. Please show him some love. That was MEGHNERD Reacts. I hope you liked this engineered format of reaction videos. It's a trial thing. If you like the format, please let me know. And if there is anything else you want me to react to, please let me know. Election days are coming up, so we are planning some mega streams on the MEGHNERD channel. So please do tune in, please do subscribe and turn on your notifications. So because you need to be aware when I come online. There have been a lot of BJP supporters who have been asking कि भाई तू online आके कब रोने वाला है मुझे बताओ. So all you people who want to see me cry, I will have Bernal here, I will have tissues on the election day, exit poll day, all the days. I will be available. So please join in, subscribe, become a part of this community. Even if it is to troll me, do it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next live stream or video. Bye bye.